Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Jeff and I are going to be talking about a number of issues that are making the news this week. And Jeff, as we look, the behind the scenes, this is the time of year when the governor's budget office is putting together the budget for the following year. And this year, the budget numbers, well, I should say they continue to be a little worrisome, despite the fact that the feds have thrown some money toward the state.
It's all smoke and mirrors coming out of the governor's office of management and budget. You can't believe a word of it, okay? Don't take my word for it. Listen to Andy Menard doing cleanup, following after Ted Dabrowski, who was at WJPF with Tom Miller doing an interview, and the governor didn't like it. So he sent Andy to say, hey, that's not right. Really? Oh, you know what's right? Hey, these numbers. Maybe we got slide.
Well, wait a minute. What did Andy Menard, who works for the governor, former state senator, what did Andy Menard say?
Point by point, everything is fine.
You got it.
Unemployment benefit reserve fund. That was a problem. Oh, everybody's got that problem. Oh, pensions are fine. Everything is fine.
Right.
Okay.
So here's wire points put together a slide for us from the governor's office of management and budget. And as we see here, this is the forecast from 2020.
Yeah, just last year, the governor was saying, all is terrible. We're in an awful state. We need the feds to come in and bail us out. Look, we got $4 billion deficits as far as the eyes can see. 2022 projecting, extrapolating to 2026. These numbers, they just look at the resources then. 38 billion, 39 billion. Oh, we're in trouble. We're just going up to 43, but our expenditures are going up to 48. So expenditures more than resources? Well, then we've got big deficits. Oh, isn't it terrible? Can the government come in and bail us out? Oh, my gosh, woe is me. Okay, that was Governor J.B. Pritzker just a year ago, right? Let's flash forward to what is he telling us now? Let's go to slide number 2. The governor's office of management and budget for Illinois for forecast in 2021 for fiscal year 2022. If you look at the budget forecast for last year for fiscal year 2023, let's go back to slide 1, Terry. Look at the budget forecast. See the circle around 39 billion. Just last year, he was forecasting, his Office of Management and Budget, the governor's office, was forecasting for fiscal year 2023, $39,779,000,000, roughly $40 billion if we round off. Now, what's he forecasting? Now, let's go to slide 2. 43 billion. If you round off, it's 44, 4 billion more. Well, where'd the 4 billion come from, Terry? Did you send the governor a check for 4 billion? Where'd it come from? Here's the answer. It came from nowhere. Okay. I don't think I don't think we're saying, well, I think it's a phony number because I don't know. Is he saying that we're going to get $4 billion more from the feds? If we're not getting it from the feds, where are we getting it from? But we're going to get a chunk of it because it doesn't stay at 46 billion in 2023 currently. It goes down to roughly 44 billion. We're getting a good chunk of that, but not all of it. So it goes down, okay? That's what they're saying, but not completely down.
Infrastructure bill that will pass the House and will be going to the Senate, maybe they're counting on that to be coming up.
Shouldn't the governor, if that's the case, Terry, the governor, when he starts his campaign, he's now campaigning. He's running for re-election. Every day, you and I know there's a ribbon cutting, okay? He's going around these various things from his capital budget, his $45 billion capital budget. See, isn't it wonderful, Rockford? See what you're getting? You're getting an airport. You're getting a modification of your airport. You're getting a modification of the road.
Well, every governor does that. I mean,
not everybody's got $45 billion as a slush fund to mess around with.
Well, right now, every state has gotten money from the feds. Illinois is not the only one. We want to be accurate in what we're saying.
When some get more than others, and
some get more than others, and of course, I don't know how it works out on a per capita basis. Some states like Wyoming have almost no population, or less. So obviously places like California, New York, Florida and Illinois are
Well,
going
they
to
got
get
lots
more
of
money.
roads. They got lots of roads in Wyoming, so it's not just population. Look. If the governor would just say, "Isn't this wonderful? The federal government gave us a lot of money. It was our Christmas present early." Okay, I didn't do it. The feds did. Why don't you write a letter to Joe Biden and say, "This is wonderful, and this is why you're getting more inflation because they don't really have the money. It's not free, as Joe Biden says." Just tell the truth. That's all I'm saying. Just tell the truth, right? Just tell us. You're
Well, look, one of the
speculating. It could be
problems
this, could be that.
we want
Do
to
you work
look.
for the
Let's
governor,
okay,
Terry? I
okay,
mean, I don't know.
Jeff. Let's do analysis here.
Yeah.
The point is that one of the problems, and we're going to have the governor is running for re-election. He has got Republican opponents. There's what 4 or 5 different candidates. One of the issues that is ongoing here is job growth. Now we've had COVID, but everyone's had COVID, and Illinois is the 10th highest unemployment rate in the country. Now, by the way, just this morning, as we tape this on December 3rd, the jobs report came out, and there were 200,000 jobs added around the nation. The analysts had expected something like 500,000. Now, in a weird way, on the other hand, the unemployment rate nationally has fallen to 4.2%. So just to put some context, I don't have for Illinois, that came out from the federal government. And so anyway,
What?
so we are at Illinois is the 10th highest. And that is the question, why is Illinois lagging? And I think the issues are commonly understood to be, one, you have businesses. This is not a business-friendly state. You have high taxes on so many things. You have high workmen's compensation costs, higher than other states. You have far more regulations than in other states. And so the result is that Illinois continues to lag its neighbors in job creation, as we see here in this chart. This is from the Bureau of Labor
Yeah,
Statistics.
from the Bureau of BLS, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, reprinted here or reformulated for us by wire points. And you can see the national average as of October 2021, national average for unemployment was 4.6%. Illinois is 6.6%. So 1.4% higher. Kentucky's at 4.2%, one of our neighboring competitors. Iowa at 3.9%, Missouri at 3.7%, Indiana at 3.3%, Wisconsin at 3.2%. Hey, maybe Andy Menard can join us sometime, Terry, former Senator Andy Menard, and he can explain why all this is lovey-dovey, why Illinois has to be 6%, while Wisconsin can be almost half that, 3.2%. I mean, I don't understand, Terry.
Well,
You just
it's
tipped off
as
a lot of
I just
reasons
said,
why.
and this is the thing that you hear from people like the Illinois Manufacturers Association and other business groups.
Do you hear it from Andy Menard? Do you hear it from Governor Pritzker? Why don't they say that? Who's right? There's only one
Well,
truth here, right?
they would maybe acknowledge that, but they're going to. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't want to speak for them, but
Because they don't say anything,
they're
okay.
not addressing the cost. It has traditionally been that the Democratic Party in Illinois is not going to be looking to make the kind of changes that are
Well, let's
have
go
been
to
made
slide
or cut the
5.
regulations.
We've had this problem
Look,
now.
the
not
bottom
just
line
for
is
Governor
what's
Pritzker.
obvious here for a moment. Every state that's
No.
run by Democrats has higher taxes and more regulations. That's not a partisan statement, it's just reality. Whether it's New York, whether it's Illinois, whether it's California, and you have people in each of those examples, the citizens of those states are leaving. People are leaving California, which is one of the most beautiful states in the nation, with some of the greatest weather, and they're fleeing there because of the regulations, because of the taxes, and they're moving it to Republican states, notably for California, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas. But people in New York are fleeing. They're going to
Yeah, they're going to Florida,
they're going to
right?
Florida, and people in Illinois are going
Not just for the
other.
weather, but for the low taxes,
Yeah,
for low
and the Governor
taxes, for more
Pritzker has said
jobs,
that people
more
are fleeing
economic growth.
Illinois because of the weather. Well, that's not true because many of them go into
Would
Wisconsin.
that be a lie,
They're going
Terry? Would
just
you say
across
the
the
governor's
border.
lying, or you just said the governor said something that wasn't true? Would you call
Well,
that a
maybe
lie?
the governor believes that, which would mean he's not lying, but I would say he is in error.
He's spreading disinformation in the words of the
Well,
federal
maybe
government.
maybe I would just say that
Should
I disagree with
so
the
are you and
governor's.
I
I
CNN
disagree with
fact
the
checkers?
governor's analysis. I would say that. The thing is, Jeff, that when you have people leaving your state, when you're not
Yeah.
creating jobs, then you don't have the taxpayers that you would have had. And as we see here on this slide, Illinois' unemployment rate has been far higher than its neighbors for years, and that means that
A
other.
decade, let's say at least a decade. That chart shows 2010 to 2020. We've been far higher. See, Illinois is higher than Indiana, which is higher than Kentucky, which is higher than Wisconsin, which is higher than Missouri, which is higher than Iowa. So we're higher than them all. We're numero uno, or maybe we should say we're numero six because we're six, we're worse, okay? Iowa's almost half the unemployment rate than Illinois. Why is Iowa so much better? Why can't Illinois? You just ticked off a lot of reasons. Well, then is the governor going to be running on, hey, the Republicans are right. We need to have a policy to cut workman's comp. So I haven't done it for 3 years, but now I'm going to follow them. Oh, we need to talk about cutting the property tax. Oh my gosh, I said that.
All right, all
I
right. Let's
didn't he
let's
promise
let's
he was
keep
going to
this
cut the
as an
property tax?
let's keep this as
No,
analysis here and not
Terry,
being
no, but
sarcastic.
it's okay. It's no, okay. Well, Andy Minar went on WJPF with Tom Miller, and he said wire points got all wrong. He specifically singled out wire points. This is significant because I think before the governor kind of ignored wire points and said they're a carny barker. That was his statement, Terry. Was that sarcasm? That was what the governor said about wire points. But now he's not ignoring them because he's sending his guy, his carny barker, Andy Minar,
Now,
out there
now
to
let's okay.
WJPF.
Let's not let's.
Well, they're calling in
I'm
carny
going to
barkers.
disagree with your
What's
terminology.
what's sauce for the goose is
Andy Minar
yeah.
was one of the most admired senators. He's now a carny barker.
Maybe by
He's
you.
a good man.
He's
He's
a
a good
Democrat. He's
advisor.
admired by Democrats. Republicans don't admire
No, he
him.
was admired within the. He was respected. Let me put it that way. He was respected
Should
within
he?
the
Do you
state
like what we've
legislature.
done on state funding for education? Do you? That's Andy Minar. Do you like it, Terry? You're
Whether
the one who
you
complains
like it or
about
not,
mandates.
whether I like it or not, the man
Do you
deserves.
respect that?
He's not a carnival barker, Jeff. We're not going to refer to him that way.
Well, is wire points a carny barker? Because the governor said that. Why
Well,
does the governor
I'm
get
not
to be
responsible for what the
disrespectful?
governor says. I am going to be participating on this show.
So what sauce for the goose is not sauce for the gander.
If the governor wants to join me on the air, I'll correct him, but he's not joining me on the air. You are.
Okay, well, here's the point, Terry. Andy Minar came on WJPF and they said to him, Tom Miller challenged him. He said, well, okay, you've kind of dismissed wire points. You said they can't find, it's what he said. Minar said, hey, I don't know. They can't find anything wrong, so they're making things up, essentially is what he said. So what Tom Miller, who's a journalist, said to Andy Minar, he said, well, okay, for a moment, let's put aside wire points. Kiplinger says Illinois is the worst state, least friendly tax state in the country, right? And he says, what's wrong with Kiplinger? Okay. And are they a carny barker? And he said, well, he didn't say what Kiplinger, but they're wrong in terms of they're bad. He just said, well, we can't really, we're the state. We don't do property taxes. Somebody else does it. So he's basically saying, I'm not responsible. We're not responsible. We won't deny that Illinois has the second highest property taxes. We won't deny that the governor ran on saying he would do something about property taxes. We'll say now, well, that's not our job. Come on, Terry, that's not an answer. So let's let your respected Senator Minar come on
Did
and
he say?
address
Well,
that difference.
I'll see
Okay?
if I can get him to do an interview. Did he say that that the property taxes are not their job? Did Senator?
He said that. Well,
or
it's the
former
equivalent. He
Senator
said
Menard?
that's by somebody else. He says that's the local governments that said that. That's not the state. So that's the equivalent of saying, "Hey, not my job." Okay, I'm just adding a little, author's embellishment here, all right? Just sparking up the show. Because
Well,
this, hey, Terry,
hang on. The one
yes.
of the major costs driving property taxes are pensions. One of the things the governor has claimed that he did do to help pensions, and this was earlier on, as we
It's
see,
like 2 years
Bloomberg
ago. Come
2019
on,
law
it's old
championed
news.
by
Yeah.
Pritzker would merge about 650 local police and firefighter pensions with assets topping 16 billion into two funds to cut the cost and improve returns. Now, the law set a June 30th deadline for consolidation of the funds, but many of the local pensions are hesitating or even refusing to merge until they learn the outcome of a lawsuit to block the combining of these funds. The lawsuit claims that the law takes away the plaintiff's local authority and diminishes and impairs the pension benefits to which they are entitled. So even that, which the governor would say was one of his accomplishments, is being held up because of a lawsuit, and people are saying, no, we're not going to do that. So as the governor runs for re-election, and as the Republicans he's going to be faced, we don't know who the Republican nominee will be, but certainly it would seem that on the issue of job creation, on the issue of cutting property taxes and lowering the burden, Governor Pritzker has a hard argument to make because the numbers don't support that he is doing well on job creation, as we showed just recently. And the other thing is that the one pension fund that he said was the one pension change is also not being put into effect because of this lawsuit. So when you're
But
looking
two
for
points.
accomplishments, it comes down to the only real improvement that has been established within the budget has been, as we already illustrated, the influx of federal dollars, which cannot be sustained. We can't be spending, passing bills every year at the federal level where we're adding $2 trillion more. The normal
Well,
budget should be in the area of the federal government, should be in
Terry,
the
you've been
area of
talking
about
for a month
$5
of
trillion.
Sundays, okay? Respectfully, Terry, you're over our 5 minute limit here, okay? Give me a shot.
The
Can I get a
government,
word in
I want to
edgewise?
put in text, we're almost done. The normal budget at the federal level
Show's gonna be
is,
over.
the normal budget at the federal level is $5 trillion. You can't be going around every year and dropping an extra $2 trillion. And my point in conclusion is that if we are going to have
In
fundamental
conclusion,
changes to the budget, they can't be coming like this, where you're getting billions of dollars sent to you in the mail from Uncle Sam. That just is not sustainable.
right, because just put that back up there for a second since you put that slide. Look at 2024. The governor's Office of Management and Budget is projecting almost 45 billion for fiscal year 2024. Fiscal year 2025 is up to almost 46 billion, and then 47.5 billion by fiscal year 2025. Maybe the governor would like to come and have a chat with us and explain where that $47.5 billion comes from in 2026. Is it from the feds, or is it a simple arithmetic extrapolation that has no basis? Now, that's respectful. That's a reasonable question. Let's have a chat. It's like Rabine and Schimpf and Bailey and Sullivan. They can't send somebody else out. They got to show up, right?
Well, let's
They've
take
done
a
it on
look
my
here for
show.
a minute. If we're looking to create a better
Oh, but
business,
Terry, no, just stop for a second. You went for a month of Sundays. Let me make another point addressing an issue you raised, because you said the big news was Bloomberg is saying that the governor's solution for pensions, of this consolidation is being held up. That's right. That's interesting news. But even 2 years ago, even if it's not held up, he held a press conference. I was there. I said to him then, I said, but Governor, people who've analyzed this say, at best, you're making savings. That's 4% of the then $420 billion pension shortfall overall for city and states. Okay. 4%, 96% is unsolved. So even if it weren't being held up, that's no solution. And now we can add, as we talked about in the last few weeks, Terry, WirePoints has estimated the growth in the last 3 years of that pension shortfall from $420 billion for states, for the Illinois state government and cities and counties around the state, to $530 billion, almost a 25% increase, now leaving us with average households on the lam for $110,000 per household. That's the average. I haven't heard the governor address that, the 96% problem of the pensions. So you put up Bloomberg, that's nice.
Well, here's to
Even
give the
if
people
it
some
wasn't being
numbers
held up.
here.
Yes, 530
$530 billion in retirement debts. And you can just see the numbers here. The state, the health care, these state retired workers, free health care for life. So you got $55 billion that's not being covered. And Jeff, just a few years ago, the state was so far behind. This is under Governor Rauner. The state was so far behind in making their payments, the health care payments, that doctors said,
Right.
if you're coming in and
They
you're a
don't
state
provide the
worker,
services,
we're
right.
not going to provide services unless you pay us up front. I ran into one dentist at a bar one evening, and he goes, the state owes me over $400,000. That was just one dentist.
Terry, Terry, let's put that slide up for a second again that you just had up. State retiree health, that's coming from the state government on the lam for $55 billion. State pensions, state workers, university teachers, university employees, etc. State employees and workers, 313. Add those numbers, we're up to about $370 billion. State pension bonds, another 10, that's 380. Just the state before we get to Chicago and Cook County and so forth. Okay, that's the current thing. Now let's go, because we're going to run out of time. Let's go to slide 6, Terry, because we talked about unemployment, but we missed a major point about unemployment. This is not just a statistic. Folks, they say, oh, unemployment went to 6%. What does that mean? Well, if Illinois, okay,
If Illinois, let me have them read the title here. Illinois would have 110,000 more employed people in the state paying taxes, by the way, if they had kept the unemployment, if they had created jobs along the lines of what the neighboring states had.
Right. So in other words, if Illinois had Kentucky's unemployment rate, well, then it would have an additional 110,000 people employed right now in Illinois. Well, let's go down to Wisconsin, which is almost half the unemployment rate. If Illinois had that, they'd have even more than the headline. Illinois would have 170,000 people additionally employed. These are real people, Governor and governor candidates, Republicans, because everybody should be focusing on that, not just Pritzker, not just Governor Pritzker. Respectfully, we should say to Gary Rabine.
Let me ask you, hang on.
And to Darren Bailey and to Jesse Sullivan.
Are you
what
satisfied with the arguments that the
reduce the
Republicans are
unemployment
making? Are you satisfied with the argument the Republican candidates for governor are making on the budget? Are they
No,
are they
not.
doing their
For the
job,
reason
or
I
are they
just
failing
said.
to make the
They're
case?
not addressing this, Terry. They're not addressing what we've just been talking about for 25 minutes. The governor isn't, and the Republican candidates aren't, and the new kid on the block, Adam Kinzinger, who gave an interview that says he's essentially thinking seriously about jumping in the race, because he didn't talk about running for Senate. He did say he's the only guy, Adam Kinzinger.
He said he's the only guy.
He's
what?
the only guy who could win in Illinois for the governor's race. None of the current crop could, except for maybe, he said, Jesse Sullivan. Why? He told A.D. Quigg of Cranes, you can see, look it up, as Yogi Berra would say, look it up. He told A.D. Quigg, Adam Kinzinger said, because
who?
I like Jesse because he's dynamic. He's
Jeff,
dynamic.
Time out.
He's dynamic, okay? Well,
Who did he tell? I don't know. He told who?
A.D. Quigg is a journalist at Cranes Business.
Okay.
Cranes
About
Chicago
5 people
Business.
know that, so okay.
Well, now 200,000 know that, because that's our viewership, right? Yeah.
So
they're all watching Illinois Channel.
all right.
Now they know.
So the fact of the matter is, getting back to what matters to the voters,
Yes.
your
Right.
point would be, and I think I would agree if this is your point, the Republican candidates for governor are failing to make the case that we've just laid out today, that the job creation, the lack of job creation in the state, we have a lousy business climate. We have too many taxes. We have too many regulations. And this is showing up in the lack of job creation. And that's one of the things adding to the budget woes. Certainly not the only thing. The people here are never cutting any spending.
The important point is there's not saying specifically. They can't blab on about fewer regulations, fewer taxes. I want to know which regulations. I want to know which taxes are going to be cut. Property taxes, I want to know how they're going to cut property taxes. So I'm not just, if that's disrespectful to ask those questions of Governor Pritzker, well, then I'm being equally disrespectful.
That's not disrespectful to ask that. No,
okay.
That's not.
But we should be
those
asking
are the questions one would ask. That is not being disrespectful.
Right, that's Jerry, the journalists across the state of Illinois are not asking that, but that's okay. I mean, if the journalists are falling down on their job, that's no excuse for Governor Pritzker and the Republican candidates to fall down on their job.
The governor is taking credit, just to go back here, for having a balanced budget, a real balanced budget. This is our first slide. And in this year, they're showing that they're going to have a surplus of $418 million. And that's fine and dandy, but as we've already made the case, while the governor is going to be claiming credit for this, the fact of the matter is that that is not his doing. That's money coming from the federal government because of COVID. So we have not addressed, as a state, as a legislature, or by the governor, we have not addressed the systemic problems that we face in the state of Illinois. And we see going on forward here. Look at the outline years. This is before, not counting the all that money coming in from the feds, or maybe it is here. But anyway, you look at the outline years. You're going to have in 2025, according to the governor's budget office, over $1 trillion in debt. That's 3 years from now. So how are they going to get around that? If we're going to have the election, which we are, coming up in 2022, these are the things that we should be addressing as a state. What are you going to do? And if your plan to balance the budget, Governor, is to tax the crap out of us,
Terry, we ought to have that. $1 trillion in debt. I don't think you mean $1 trillion, do you? Think you mean $1 billion? Right?
I'm sorry, yeah, $1 billion, not $1 trillion, yeah.
Yeah, that's a kind of
$1 billion. Okay. I'm sorry, I did make that
mistake.
So
Terry, before you filibuster anymore, just remind people, again, this is not a statistic. When 170,000 people don't have jobs in Illinois because we have a higher unemployment rate, because we have the wrong economic policies, those 170,000 people have less feeling of satisfaction, of being self-sufficient, of being independent. It's just not material benefits, it's the psychological benefits, which the governor likes to talk about. He likes to talk about systemic racism across the state of Illinois. I don't know if he's going to run on that and tell Illinois, all you citizens are systemically racist. He should be worried also about, he should be worried about systemic unemployment that has made Illinois.
We need to wrap up here.
Illinois has, for the last decade, has systemically higher unemployment than its neighbors. And what has he done in the last 3 years about that? That's the question.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Leave your comments, and we will see you next time.